Okay, good morning to everybody. Good morning. It's the beginning of semester, so you should be bright and cheery. So welcome to week 2. So I believe most of you would have been here last week where I gave just some introductory remarks, some comments about the course and some of the requirements. So I want to urge you, as I said before, more students will do well. But there's a different approach you need for this course, and I can't help overstressing that. It's a different approach where you cannot wait until the last minute to cram. Right? So if you're accustomed to waiting till the 8 and 9 and you start to up your pace, or you wait for exam to cram, that's a very dangerous strategy, and I would urge you, please change from that. And I want to repeat what I said. For this course, the model that works well, that would ensure you do well and pass the course, is from last week, you should be really studying intensely and reading steadily, smart, and making sure you do your assignments and read ahead. So for the first 6-7 weeks or so, it's your most intense reading while you're fresh, because there are a lot of concepts, a lot of new concepts, but a lot of the old stuff you really need to refresh your memory on. And a lot of the models and tools you need to learn and learn well. So those first 6 to 7 weeks are going to be critical, that you need to do your most intense study. And as it gets to be 8 and 9, you can start to pull back, right? And as I said, most students will get a B grade and up. Hardly anybody gets a C in this course. Most people will get a B and up. And the others will, based on the statistics, 21 or so percent, historically, the last 3 years have been failing, which is not good enough. I would like it to be down to 2%. But some students still follow the old model to rote, and they say going in the exam to get the bucket, just write on a topic will guarantee you run in trouble. Right? It calls for a level of analysis and application and thinking through your topics. I want to repeat, do not get into the model of waiting for the last thing. So I'm going to test your knowledge very shortly to see whether you're agreeing with me or whether you think I'm talking nonsense. I'm going to do a review from last week. And I said one of the things you should do is to prepare for today's session. And I said the other thing that works, that allows you to learn and understand well, is reading ahead. So I said last week, read ahead, and I think I sent an email too, urging students, please read ahead for the EFE today at least. We'll touch on the CPM, but read ahead, it helps in learning and understanding. So for this course, it is understanding and learning are most important, and not just memorizing, but learning and understanding. So today we're going to look at a number of topics. We're going to first introduce this concept of IO, the Industrial Organization View, and that's a particular concept, theoretical concept that informs external assessment. And we'll do a quick review of the environment of business, a quick review of 5 forces, because we dealt with that last week, so the average student here should have some knowledge of those. And then specifically today, we'll look at the EFE, the External Factor Evaluation Matrix, and we also look at the CPM, the Competitive Profile Matrix, and these two matrices are two of the important tools that you will get in the course. So before we get to today's session, let's do a quick review. So some students tell me, why is the external environment or the external environmental analysis so very important to businesses? Anybody? We dealt with that last week. Sorry? Right, because it can impact, it can or does. You said it can or it does impact the operations of a business. Right, it does, and she's very correct. It impacts on the operations of all businesses, whether private, public, or non-governmental. And what are the 3 phases, my friend here, of strategic management, lady in black? Change. The 3 phases of strategic management. And then you've got the Jarrell, right? Oh, I'm getting good. Yes, Jarrell. Guy here, 3 phases of strategic management. Like looking back, yes. Yes, sir. Yes. 3 phases of strategic management. Yes. Excellent. Strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and strategy evaluation. That's excellent. So at least one person believes what I'm saying. The Porter's 5 forces model, we spoke about that yesterday. He said it's something you deal with in marketing. So the Porter's 5 forces model is made up of my friend here in pink. Right here looking at me. 5 forces model is made up of yes? Bargaining power of the supplier, bargaining power of the consumer, competitive rivalry among firms, new entrants to the market, and threat of substitute products. So thank you very much, and everybody should know that by now. Isn't anything I teach over, but when you're doing your case analysis and general analysis in this course, you really need to know how to utilize the 5 forces model. And what determines the bargaining power of buyers and suppliers? What determines the bargaining power of buyers and suppliers? Sorry? No. The amount of suppliers. Why? Go ahead. Why is that? She's saying the more suppliers you have, the less power the suppliers will have. Why would they have less power? Because, right, so why is it, so the bargaining power will be low, right? So why is it that makes their bargaining power low? To go around where? So use the language of strategy. You have a lot of right? You have a lot of competition, and then so who benefits? Right. So the consumers benefit in what way? That's it. They have choices, and they can say, "I am not buying that." So what it forces, so when you go in stores all over the world and you see 1899, 1895, 1890, 1898, 1888, because the competition is so intense, people are playing by cents. So cents matter when you are selling hundreds of thousands of units. Right? So these concepts I said are going to be important concepts when we start to look at value chain analysis. As I say, you don't get a question in the exam on 5 forces analysis, but you will have to be able to know how to utilize it in other questions to answer other questions. So you will find that happening a lot. A lot of the foundation concepts of the environment of business, vision, mission, business model, 5 forces, you wouldn't get a question talking about what are the 5 forces, but in answering certain questions, you have to refer to these concepts to do it well. That's why I'm saying it is important for you to know these concepts, right? So you're not going to be getting any marks for questions in the exam of what is, define this, describe that. You're not going to get questions asking you to do that. Your questions are going to be analytical and asking you to make recommendations and analyze, etc., etc. So I'm urging you again, folks, this is week 2. Every week, please come prepared, having read ahead on the topic, and you should never go into another week without having read or having some basic understanding of the topics together the week before. Because we're building a house and everything is important for you to understand. Now, I sent out an email suggesting online discussion and other things to do. So I hope students read their mails you get from me at least you should do it every day. So I'll begin with a quote from Tim Cook from Apple, one of the most successful companies in the world. And he says, price is really the most important thing. A cheap product may sell some units, and they feel great when they pay the money, but when they get home and use it, all the joy is gone. Right? So sometimes, again, you can't afford not to buy a cheap product. Because if you're at university and you're doing a master's, you're doing an undergrad, and you're paying your rent, you have a family and your children at school, you know, your money is tight, so you might not be able to buy the phone you want. So so when we talk about people not being able to buy what they want, there are options. What are the marketing terms we use for that? Different people being able to buy different things. What is the marketing language for that? Sorry? It could be substitute, right? Substitute. What else could it be? What other words you can use to describe that situation? Sorry? No, I said where customers have different options in terms of what they can buy and different buying power. What words would we use in marketing to describe that situation? Consumer behavior. What else? Segment. Who said that? Right? Market segmentation. Based on what? So market segmentation is based on what? Targeting. Market targeting. What else? What allows you to target? Excellent. You're on the right ball. Give him a hand. Excellent. Right. So you target only when you have demographic profiles. And what are demographic profiles? My lady here in white shirt. What are demographic profiles? Give me some examples. Anybody? Age, gender, sorry, income, job. But you all missed one of the most important ones today. Sexual orientation. Nobody deals with gender much. Gender is male and female. But what is sexual orientation nowadays? Lesbian, transgender, cross-gender, bisexual. So people care into all those groups because some of those groups got a lot of money and people, they're very wealthy, very educated people. So I'm sure in this room we have some people who are gay or lesbian. But our societies are, well, not our societies, there are still people in our society who still have their own personal views that it is evil, that God will send them to purgatory and all of that. But they're still human beings and they exist, you see. And they always been with us. I know it growing up in the 60s and 70s. We always had them, but nowadays they make it seem like these young people, you know, they say these young people. Well, we always had in Barbados, I know for sure, we always had gay and lesbian, but they did what they did. In fact, they were actually in the church and everything, but they hid and did what they did and nobody talked. But it's just the young people today are bold and they say, I'm not hiding and pretending anymore. But it is not a young people thing. It's always been in Caribbean society. They always were among us in the church, in the schools, everywhere. Right? Your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunts. So from a marketing perspective, you know, they're still human beings and they have services to buy, or they want services. So price, one of the things, there are two concepts, folks, that we need to get to be mindful of, and that is students normally get cost and price mixed up. Right? But cost and price are different things. So anybody can tell me what's the difference between cost and price? Oh, right, correct. Price is what customers pay. Right? Price is what customers pay, and cost is the cost of production, or the units of production. But we know in normal layman language, you go in the store, you say how much that costs. But folks, in reality, a lot of students actually write that in their papers and in the exam. They get the cost and price mixed up. But the purpose of this course, make sure that you distinguish what costs are from what prices are. So these are the concepts we dealt with last week. We're not going to go through them again. You need to know them very well. This is the 5 forces. Now, one of the terms I had up on the board earlier, I want to go through now, and it is called the IO, the Industrial Organization Perspective. Please make a note, the Industrial Organization Perspective, and I'm sure it is in the text. And the Industrial Organization Perspective deals with the concept that for an organization to be competitive, it needs to focus on the external forces. Right? It deals with the perspective that for an organization to be successful or competitive, it needs to focus on the external forces. So what Michael Porter writes about, all of his models are based on the industrial organization perspective. And that differs, welcome Ms. Banji, I have you correct? I'm getting good, and one time I didn't know name, so. The RBV now is the alternative, the resource-based view. Right? The resource-based view is based on the premise that companies need to focus more on the internal resources. You're not going to ignore the external, but it says you need to focus on the internal resources and the forces in order to be competitive and gain a competitive advantage. So when we say the first one, the IO externalizes competitiveness, whereas the RBV internalizes and says you need to focus on your internal resources or forces. Right? So those are two perspectives, the external versus the internal. But in your notes in the text, and I suggest you just do a little reading to understand those two perspectives. So now we want to go into the first topic for the day, called the EFE. And I know good students, you would have looked at the topic as I suggested in the email, and you have an idea what the EFE is about. So can somebody tell me, what's the purpose of the EFE? What does it do? What does the EFE do? Excellent. The EFE assesses the opportunities and threats a business might face in order eventually to gain competitiveness. Excellent. So if we say it addresses opportunities and threats, it means then that you are looking at which part of the environment? The external. So it means that opportunities and threats are part of the environment, the external environmental analysis. So there's another thing about it too, another assumption, that in order to do an EFE, there is one other strategic activity that you need to complete. What is that? Your SWOT analysis. Excellent. So when you're doing your cases for presentation, and we're going to have our first set of tutorials on Thursday, one of the first things you will need to do is a pestle analysis or environmental analysis. You do your competitive analysis, and you do a SWOT analysis, because the SWOT analysis provides you then with the opportunities and threats, and it also provides you with your strengths and weaknesses. Right? So the EFE is made up of opportunities and threats. So there are some other components of an EFE. Anybody can tell me what the columns in an EFE are made of? What are the columns in an EFE made of? Sorry? Well, we have the opportunities and threats already. You have your rates, you have your ratings, and your weighted score, and one more, your total weighted score. So we're going to look at them very shortly. Now, one of the key things, right, your weights, your ratings, your weighted scores, and your total weighted score. Now, in the matrices we're going to look at over the next 2 weeks, the EFE, the CPM, and the IFE, the internal factor evaluation matrix, you need to pay particular attention to the ratings. Right? And when we look at the EFE and IFE today, you need to pay particular attention to the ratings, because the ratings vary. You have from 1 to 4, but they vary in terms of the interpretation. So for the EFE, a 4 is a superior response. A 3, above average response. A 2, average response. And a 1 is a poor response. Now, there's a key thing you need to know in the ratings. It talks about response, right? So can somebody tell me why does it make logical sense for it to be speaking about a response in relation to the EFE? And we said it has opportunities and threats, and it looks at rating the responses. Somebody tell me. Yes? Why? Why? So where are we using response? Excellent. Because these things are external, and as we said at the beginning, impacting on the organization. So since these things are beyond the control of the business and impacting on the business, you want to assess, since the organization really can't control them, they try to. So organizations might try to influence the political factor, right? So you want to negotiate with politicians. So when businesses try to influence politicians to do things they want, what do you call that? A C word, corruption. So sometimes it happens, but we call it corruption and it's illegal when businesses try to manipulate politicians to get things in their favor. But generally speaking, in a proper market system, companies try to respond to these pressures that are constant. They're never changing. Economic factors across the world are constantly changing. Social and culture. No society is stagnant. These communities in St. Lucia, Dominica, Trinidad, Grenada, our environments are constantly changing. The societies are totally changing. Right? I'm sure if you went back in St. Lucia or St. Vincent, Grenada, 20 years, and you look at what young people did versus what young people do today, similar for Barbados, you'll be amazed the kind of significant changes that would have been made in 20 years or even 15 years, how people live and the kind of value systems. Right? So values change and cultures change over time. Nothing is stagnant. So the EFE allows the company to look at the key opportunities and to look at the key threats. So folks, I want to establish a point here so you know. The only way you will be able to construct and answer a question on the EFE is if you understand the importance and the role of the pestle analysis, if you understand the importance and the role of a competitive analysis, because the 5 forces allows you to identify opportunities and threats also, right? So you must understand pestle analysis, competitive analysis, using 5 forces analysis, and you need to know how the SWOT analysis works if you're to do an EFE. But I repeat, in the exam, you don't get a question on pestle, you don't get a question on SWOT, you don't get a question on 5 forces, but you need to know how they work in order to answer, or even in your cases, you need to know those things in order to do your cases and understand what questions are asking you to do. So please make note of the ratings, folks. 4, 3, 2, 1, and you need to know what they mean in terms of analysis. So here is the EFE, sorry. So we make a note. So we have the first column, opportunities, and then we also have the threats. And then you have the weight, you have the rating, and you have the weighted scores. So I'm going to go through slowly. If there's anything I say you don't understand, you can put your hand up and say, could you go back over? But for those who went through it before, it's going to be much easier. For those who are seeing it for the first time, you might not know much of what is happening since you're seeing it for the first time. So these opportunities will come from your SWOT. You did your pestle analysis, you did your SWOT analysis, you look at your opportunities and threats from the SWOT, so you've identified your key opportunities based on analyzing the environment. So when you are doing your cases for presentation in class, I don't expect clones. So different groups will have different opportunities. So don't think that there is a right opportunity I'm looking for, or there's a right threat. So even in the exam, when you're writing your exam, different students will answer questions differently. So that's why I say the answers are not in the textbook. So we might have about 30 groups presenting this semester, and you might have a majority of those groups highlighting different opportunities and different threats when they do their EFE for the case presentation. But you need to justify it. So if you determine what an opportunity is, you just need to justify why you consider this an opportunity. And if you consider something a threat, you just need to justify, and that's okay, once you can justify it. So in this one, we have global PC market expected to grow by 20%. So it's an opportunity. It's expected to grow by 20%, which means there's an assumption here about this one. The global PC market expected to grow by 20%. So I am operating in Dominica. What's the assumption here if I want to take advantage of that opportunity? What's the advantage I can take advantage of if I want to benefit from this opportunity? The global PC market expected to grow by 20%. Invest where? Right. But invest where? You're in Dominica. Can you remember what you were saying? Which means? Right, because if you remember, it said the global PC market is expanded by 20%. So it means that even though I'm in Dominica, I can consider, as he said, maybe I need to move outside of Dominica. I can go to other Caribbean islands, I can go to other Latin American islands, or I can try to set up business in the US or Canada because it's a global PC market. Obviously, you will have to have the resources to do that kind of expansion. Right? So any company then with a global market expanding can go international. You can start to expand your business beyond your boundaries. So what term do we use to explain that in marketing? Is the marketing term we use define when a company moves from its location, geographical location, and goes to another country? A marketing term. Excellent. Market development. It's market development. What's the marketing concept when a company decides to expand locally? Market penetration. Excellent. Cost of PC components. You see cost. So throughout this course, you'll be seeing terms of cost and price coming up. Particularly cost is going to be one of those issues coming up. So I urge you, you need to go back and refresh your memory on your basic accounting, because accounting is going to be a critical part of this course. Cost of PC component parts expected to decrease 10%. Opportunity. Part, so what's happening here? Cost of the PC components will decrease 10%. How should I interpret that in my business? So it means that I now can source companies and get my production costs down, which means that I can offer better prices to customers, which means that I can increase. Somebody made a profit. Don't fault you, all they get a profit too quickly, Don't get a profit too quickly. And I can increase my sales. And when I increase my sales, I increase my revenue, because there's a difference between sales and revenues. Sales is where you get people to buy things, but we know because somebody buys something doesn't mean you get money. How does that happen? Just because somebody buys something doesn't mean that I get money. So how can that happen? Sales on credit. Some businesses, they just send it to you and you pay at the end of the month. So folks, you've got to distinguish sales from revenues. So sales increase, revenues increase. And what else happens to get profit? I then have to manage my expenses and manage my costs. So if I am a manufacturing company, and I did this in one way tutorial, so if the persons that here should know this. So if I'm a manufacturing company, and my sales are booming, what do I have to pay attention to get my profits? It's a manufacturing company. You can say cost? Excellent, correct. Not just cost. Remember I said they're a manufacturing company, because for manufacturing companies, they have a lot of component parts. So you need to monitor your cost of goods sold, because in manufacturing environments, if you don't monitor the cost of goods sold and look at good cost, the company looking at every unit cost, your sales are booming, but you hardly make any increases in profit, because the cost of goods sold, as your sales increase, it costs just as much in selling those goods, and you didn't get a profit. So that is a simple accounting concept we need to know about. The other one, average income for PC workers has declined. Opportunity, because what again is going to happen here? You need to pay. So what's happening then? What's the term we want to use? When you pay less, so your expenses would increase, the cost of doing business decreases also, and as a result, the company can improve its profitability. And you can see the relationship, the PC market is booming, and at the same time, the average income is dropping, which are significant opportunities. The threats, intense rivalry in the industry. So when you see, this is the kind of thinking folks you need for this course. So when you see the term intense rivalry in the industry, how am I going to find out that? How can I find out that? What kind of research am I going to do? And what research, tell me how I'm going to do it. Say it loud. My research would involve utilizing Porter's 5 forces model. That's how we find out intense rivalry among competing firms. So remember I said these tools will be critical to you understanding the course, even though you will not be mentioning about 5 forces. So the best way to find out that is actually to use the Porter's 5 forces model, which looked, and that's what we did at the beginning, you remember? One of the forces in the rivalry among competing firms. That's excellent. Different countries have different regulations and infrastructure. Different countries have different regulations and infrastructure. I'm going to find out that. Different countries have different regulations and infrastructure. What helps me to find out about the regulations? What tool of analysis? The PESEL analysis. Which aspect of PESEL? The political and legal. Right? So the legal go one more so, where the government, through its Ministry of Legal Affairs and the legal drafters, would implement regulations to protect customers or also to protect business. Number 5, demand exceeds supply of experienced PC workers. What are we talking about here? HRM. So if you remember HRM and human resource planning and recruitment and selection, I'm sure you all did HRM, right? So in HRM, you look in recruitment and selection and in HR planning. If you go back to your notes, HRM talked about supply and demand analysis. And where there's a gap, if there's a shortage of workers, you need to hire. If there's an overage, what do you do? Right, you may need to lay off, right? But the point I'm making here, folks, this is part of HRM. Recruitment, selection, but it's looking at it from a national level. It's looking at national demand and national supply, not at an organizational level. So it can say then, in St. Lucia, there is a demand for computer programmers, but across the country, you don't have a lot of people skilled in programming. So it means the St. Lucian government has to make a decision, which would be, what's the decision? Right. will you allow work permits for people from other parts of the world to come into St. Lucia on work permits? Or you can have economic citizenship, that people who are skilled, we allow you to come and get citizenship in St. Lucia. I don't know if you all know that's happening throughout the Caribbean. I know St. Kitts, Antigua, and other countries have gone to economic citizenship, that if you come and invest, I think 200,000 US or whatever, you automatically get a passport for St. Kitts. They call it economic citizenship. Of course, it's controversial around the world that a number of countries are then red marking the passports and say, well, look, anybody from this country know more rigid regulations when you're about to travel. But this one, as I said, the issue is, it's not an organizational issue, because if it pertained to organizational recruitment, what does it become then? If this was an organizational issue, what does it become in terms of your analysis? It becomes an internal factor, which means there will have to be a strength or weakness. A weakness? Correct, because it means the organization does not have enough workers. But I stress this is at the national level where the country does not have enough workers. Yes, brother. What's your name?
John. I was asking you, the tracks on 1, 0.5.
0.5.
This score a little bit.
Oh, that's an error, yeah. Thanks, yeah. That's an error. Because you just got to multiply the weight. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's an error. You just multiply the weight by the score. It has 10 and it's 0.05. But he's correct. Birth rate in US declining annually. That's an interesting one. Why is that a threat? This is something that Trump doesn't understand, that when your population is declining, if you look at the short term, you don't see a problem. But once populations are declining, it means that, how long does it take for somebody to become adult? Surely not 2 years. So I think Trump believes that he become an adult in 5 years. But if your population is declining, and you don't pay attention to that, in 20 years you have such a major shortage of your nationals, and then you will be begging people from all over the world to come, because you will have some significant, and that's what Trump doesn't understand, that, and the thing, a lot of Europeans in the US are not having babies. In fact, in Western Europe, that's a major problem. In fact, in Japan and a number of Asian countries, where women are not just having babies, women are sending them into career. So what is happening, the population is declining of the nationals. So the only way you will be able to get a workforce is to import. But then you say, no, we don't want any foreigners coming in our country. But it's a big dilemma. So this is something facing a lot of Western countries. Men not, well, if the women don't want children, the men can't get. So the women are saying, sorry buddy, no babies. Right? So I suppose some people are alternatively going all over the world adopting babies from Africa, from Europe. And then that's also being controversial, where people are saying, no, you're taking people and putting them in these environments, and you're taking a black baby with a white baby. So a lot of people are challenging it, but it's already a major issue confronting countries, mainly Western countries. In fact, Barbadians, I don't know if you know too, that Barbados is actually heading towards a major issue too, because our rebirth rate is getting to a point where our population is, and say in Europe, the populations are, the national population is dying. They're called Bajans. So Barbados is actually heading to a problem that, again, a lot of ladies don't want babies. So the population is actually declining in terms of rebirth, but it is aging because a lot of people are living longer because of health and things like that. So we will, if it is not addressed. So there was some validity. He put it in a very crude way, our Minister of Education. He was very crude about it. But he was trying, if he had done it differently, but he was making some kind of sense that our population is really in decline. Simply for the fact, a lot of women are saying, I'm not into babies really, I want to focus on myself, my career. But I say, so it's an issue that we need to look at. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but people have decisions to make about their lives. So folks, so what we are seeing here, we are seeing a mix of economic factors, political factors, legal factors, social factors, human factors, environmental factors, and all of these things are things that would contribute to you understanding the course. And I normally urge students at this early stage of this course to try to do a lot of reading and listening to international news. Right? See, it helps you a lot, huh? And listen to business news, like Financial Times and magazines like those, because a lot of what they talk about every day is about strategy and about business. Right? BBC News, Business News, CNN Business News, or any international business news, but just listening 10, 15 minutes every day actually could help you in understanding this course and the issues we are confronted with. So let's go to the weights. So we have the opportunities and threats. Let's go to the weights. So you will realize that each opportunity and threat is allocated a weight. So what is the importance of a weight? Yes, lady in blue. What's the importance of a weight? Yeah. Excellent. The weight determines the importance, and this is something you need to note and put in red, blue, orange. It determines the importance of each factor. I repeat, the weight determines the importance of each factor. So what's your name? So Carol, so why, as an analyst looking at strategy, might I want to determine the importance of my opportunities and my threats? Why do I want to determine importance? Let me go this side, let me neglect in this side here. My friend here in the case of church, why do I want to determine the importance of my opportunities and my threats? Huh? The lady right in the back in the Vogue shirt. What's your name? There's only one lady with a Vogue shirt there. You dressed yourself this morning? But you're not sure what you're doing, right? Yes, what is it important to determine? What is it necessary to determine the importance of opportunities and threats? But we have a number. We have about what? 10. We have 8 opportunities and 8 threats. So why do I want to determine the importance? And if you look at the weights differ. Why do I want to do that? The guy next, what's it, your name? Coffee, your name? Denisha? The guy next to Denisha, what's your name? Terry? Yeah. So the weights are different. So why am I doing that? What am I trying to do? The guy right behind. Terry. Yes, sir. Why do I do that? Sorry? Excellent. He said it to determine which one will be most beneficial to the company because an opportunity. So similar to the threat, similar thing, I want to determine the importance of a threat to determine which one might have the biggest impact, right, on my business. Right? So we allocate different weights to each and every factor. Now, when you are doing your cases, you have to construct EFEs and IFEs and CPMs. So I am suggesting to you, when you are constructing them for the cases you present in class for marks, just use a maximum of 5, right? Don't go into 10 and 12. Use 5 opportunities and 5 threats at maximum. At maximum. I repeat, when you are constructing your EFE, IFE, and CPM for the cases to be presented in class, only use a maximum of 5 opportunities or 5 threats. No more. You can have less if you desire. And the other thing too, You determine the weights, and from reading the case, you will then determine, as he said, which of these opportunities might be more beneficial to the company. Each group will have to make that judgment from what the case presents and justify it. Now, the easiest way students could actually allocate weights is to do a ranking. So if you had the first 5 here, and they had no weights to them, from your reading, do a ranking from 1 to 5. Right? Do a ranking from 1 to 5. So 1 means this is top, followed by the second, third, fourth, fifth. And then you can go to allocate the weights in terms of percentages. And you do a similar one for the threats. But there is a unique thing about these matrices, about the total of the weights. All the weights must total 1. All the weights must total 1. So you can do an iteration where you can juggle. Once you do the ranking and you know what must be given the highest weight, coming down to the lowest weight for opportunities, what must be given the highest weight and the lowest weight for threats, you can then juggle that. First it might come to 120, 1.2 something or 1.8, and you just make the adjustments to make sure the ranking is in that order till eventually your final weight score total is 1, right? So I stress the weights differ and determines what you perceive as the most important opportunities and what you determine as the most important threats. Hence, as I said before, different groups might have different weights for the EFE and the IFE. But you just need to justify why you are giving something the most important weights. Now for the rating, just as the guy in the back said, your rating is based again on analyzing the environment, the external environment, and you using that as a basis to determine what the case tells you is the company's response to each of these. So when you read the case should give you information about how the company is responding to the PC market beginning to grow. And you remember the ratings, a 4 means that the company has a superior response, and a 3 above average. So you make that determination and justify it as you present your cases. So if from reading the case and looking at what the company has been doing, the case must say something that the company made a strategic decision to move in. You're operating from St. Lucia to go into Dominica. It wanted to go and set up a branch in India or go to North America, and you can make a judgment the company has a superior response. If it just made plans and started having discussions to move, that is also a positive action. And whether you want to call it an average response, you need to use your judgment to justify it. Right. So folks, remember, in real life, there's no absolute strategy. Strategy is a moving ball. So I'm not looking for perfect answers. I'm looking for you to show me you understand the analytical, logical processes, and you're able to justify the linkages and your decisions. So you rate each factor. So in this one, it is saying for number 1, the company has an above average approach to the market growth. It is saying the company has an above average for the component parts decreasing. And it is saying in terms of the 30% of Chinese population can afford a PC, the company has a 1, which suggests it's a poor response. So why do you think a 30% of the Chinese population can afford a PC? Why do you think that is being classified as an opportunity? What do you think? Sorry? What's the size of the Chinese population? 1.something billion. So when you look at 30% of 1 billion, that is bigger than the US population. You understand? That's bigger than the entire US population. India, 1.3 or 4 billion, or not million, billion. The US population is just about 300 million. So when you hit 30%, and there's an opportunity for you to do business there, if you can take up that opportunity, you're in a phenomenal position. So you're talking about 400 million or so people, that is a lot. And they say they can afford a PC, meaning you got the Chinese market. So that's why Apple and all of them set up plants in China, because if you can get Chinese and Indians buying computers and phones, you just got to keep the price at a reasonable price. All right, so before we go to look at the rating score, everybody is comfortable with the factors and the opportunities and threats. You're comfortable with the weight and the importance. Everybody's comfortable with that. The rating, we know the ratings. You know what a 1 is, 2, 3, and 4, and you apply it in determining how is the company actually responding from your analysis of the case. And then to get the weighted score, you multiply the weight by the score, you have your weighted score, and then you have your total weighted score. And then you know 4 is the highest. So where the company gets a 2.4, it means that it is right. It is average, marginally above, but it's more average than it is above average. So the company is just average. It is doing okay, and it means that it's a lot of work that it has to do to take advantage of the opportunities and to minimize the threats being imposed on it. Any questions on the EFE? Anybody, any questions on the EFE? Anything you want to clarify? Everybody's comfortable? And we said that already. So what we'll do, take a 5-minute break. I'll go and get a bit of water, stretch your legs, and then we come back. It is now, right, 4 minutes on my clock, 9:04. We can come back at 9:10. 9:10, we come back and we're going to looking at the CPM, the competitive profile matrix. If you have any questions on the EFE, just let me know when we come back from the break.